everybody. Welcome to the Knox County's Public Library Tutor Team. I'm Mrs. Worland, and today I'm going to be working with second and third grade students. So today I have a wonderful book that I would like to be sharing. This book is called Amazing Grace. I really think you're going to like this book. I think you're going to learn a lot. We're going to work on asking and answering questions as we read this story today. And I want you to think to yourself, and if there's someone at home that you can talk to this book about, that would be fabulous. I also have a story map up today that we can take a peek at. So, are you ready? Let's look at the cover. What do you think this book's going to be about? Well, when you look at the title, Amazing Grace, and you see the girl on the cover, you think, I wonder if it's going to be about a girl named Grace. It's always a great thing to look at the back of her book. And it says, Grace can do anything she puts her mind to. Are you ready? Let's begin. Amazing Grace by Mary Hoffman. I definitely want to share this. Grace was a girl who loved stories. She didn't mind if they were read to her, or told to her, or made up in her own head. She didn't care if they were in books or movies, or out of Nana's long memory. Grace just loved stories. After she had heard them, and sometimes while they were still going on, Grace would act them out, and she always gave herself the most exciting part. I wonder why she gave herself the most exciting part. What do you think? Do you think she's enjoying Nana's stories? Look at her face. Grace went into battle as Joan of Arc and wove a wicked web as Nancy the spider. She hid inside the wooden horse at the gates of Troy. She went exploring for lost kingdoms. She sailed the seven seas with a peg leg and a parrot. One thing I noticed about Grace, and I bet you did too, she has such a wonderful imagination. Look at all the characters she's been already. She was Hiawatha, sitting by the shining big sea water, and Mowgli in the backyard jungle. Have you noticed that Grace is just doing all this by herself? She doesn't have any playmates. Most of all, Grace loved to act out adventure stories and fairy tales. When there was no one else around, Grace played all of the parts herself. Wow, can you imagine playing all the parts yourself? She's got to be amazing. She set out to seek her fortune with no companion but her trusty cat, and found a city with streets paved with gold. Or she was Aladdin, rubbing his magic lamp to make the genie appear. So far, what Grace has been acting out, are any of these familiar to you? Have you heard any of these stories or maybe watched a video? Sometimes she could get Ma and Nana to join in when they weren't too busy. Then she was Dr. Grace, and their lives were in her hands. One day, Grace's teacher said they would do the play Peter Pan. Grace knew who she wanted to be. When she raised her hand, Raj said, "You can't be Peter. That's a boy's name." But Grace kept her hand up. I wonder why Grace kept her hand up. Thinking about it? "You can't be Peter Pan," whispered Natalie. "He isn't black." But Grace kept her hand up. She's very persistent, isn't she? "All right," said the teacher. "Lots of you want to be Peter Pan. So we'll have auditions next week to choose the parts." And she gave them words to learn. Do you remember what audition means? You're right. It means they're trying out for the part because there's so many of them that would like to be Peter Pan. When Grace got home, she seemed sad. "What's the matter?" asked Mom. "Raj said I can't be Peter Pan because I'm a girl." "That just shows what Raj knows," said Ma. "A girl can be Peter Pan if she wants to." Do you think a girl could be Peter Pan? Grace cheered up, and then later she remembered something else. "Natalie said I can't be Peter Pan because I'm black." Ma looked angry, but before she could speak, Nana said, "It seems that Natalie is another one who doesn't know anything. You can be anything you want to be, Grace, if you put your mind to it." What do you think about that statement? Can you be anything you want to be? On Saturday, Nana told Grace they were going out. In the afternoon, they caught a bus and trained into town. Nana took Grace to a grand theater. The sign outside read, "Rosalie Wilkins in Romeo and Juliet," in sparkling lights. "Are we going to the ballet, Nana?" asked Grace. "We are, honey, but first I want you to look at this picture." Grace looked up and saw a beautiful young ballerina in a tutu. This is a tutu. Above the dancer it said, "Stunning new Juliet." "That one is little Rosalie from back home in Trinidad," said Nana. "Her granny and me. We grew up together on the island. She's always asking me if I want tickets to see her Rosalie dance. So this time I said yes." I wonder why she decided that Grace needed to go see Romeo and Juliet. After the ballet, Grace played the part of Juliet, dancing around her room in her imaginary tutu. "I can be anything I want," she said. On Monday, the class met for auditions to choose who was the best for each part. When it was Grace's turn to be Peter, she knew exactly what to do and all of the words to say. She had been Peter Pan all weekend. She took a deep breath and imagined herself flying. When it was time to vote, the class chose Raj to be Captain Hook and Natalie to be Wendy. There was no doubt who would be Peter Pan. Everyone voted for Grace. I wonder why they all voted for Grace. What are your thoughts about that? "You are fantastic," whispered Natalie. The play was a big success, and Grace was an amazing Peter Pan. After it was all over, she said, "I feel as if I could fly all the way home." "You probably could," said Mom. "Yes," said Nana. "If Grace put her mind to it, she can do anything she wants." Here's the book, Amazing Grace. Let's talk about Grace for just a moment. What did you think about her? Would you want Grace to be your friend? I feel like Grace would be an amazing friend. I feel like Grace had such a wonderful imagination. Do you think that it's okay for girls to do what boys do? Do you think it's okay for boys to do something that girls like to do? What are your thoughts about that? I think it's perfectly fine. If Grace wanted to be Peter Pan, I think Grace should have been Peter Pan. And she was. And she was very good at it. I think if boys want to learn how to cook, I think that's amazing too. You can do and be anything you want to be. Just remember, you have to put your mind to it. Okay? So let's look at our story map. And we're going to talk about a few things on this map today. So, the setting. Sometimes we know that a story can take place in many different settings. So let's think about this story had a couple of main settings. What do you think the settings were? Now I'm going to pause for a moment, let you think, maybe tell someone. I think one of the settings was at Grace's house. Any other thoughts? School? Perfect. Now, let's talk about the characters. In a story, there can be a main character and supporting characters. Supporting characters are those that they have a role in the story, but it may not be as huge as the main character. So, I'm going to give you a moment to think. Who do you think the important characters were in the story? Are you ready? Well, obviously, Grace was one of the important characters. Her mom, what do you think about Nana? Do you think Nana was an important character that we should list? I think we should. Now, what do you think about Raj and Natalie? They were mentioned in the story. Do you think they were main characters, or do you think they just had a small part in the story? You think a small part in the story? I agree, but I think they had a very important role in the story too. So we could also put Raj and we could put Natalie. Now, let's start retelling this story. Remember when we do a retell, we go from the beginning to the middle to the end. Okay, so let's take it from the beginning. What do you think happened at the beginning of the story? I'm going to pause for a moment to give you a moment to think. Are you thinking? Okay. The beginning of the story. Grace liked to pretend. Do you agree? Grace did like to pretend. Now, do you think we should add anything else? Maybe that so she played out different parts. I agree. I think that's a great beginning of the story. Sometimes when we do beginning, middle, and end, we just write a few sentences or a few thoughts and hit the main topic of it. Now, let's go to the middle of the story. think about what happened in the middle of the story. What was the most important in the middle? So I'm going to go ahead and give you another moment to think about it. Maybe you have an adult with you and you'd like to talk to them about what your thoughts are. Are you ready? Well, I think in the middle of the story, Grace wanted to be Peter Pan. Remember, they were going to have a play at school? Now, do you think we should add that her friends told her she couldn't because Peter Pan was a boy and Peter Pan was white? You think we should add that? Good. I think we should. Okay. Her friends told her she couldn't be Peter Pan. Now, let's go to the ending of the story. It's usually pretty easy when we get to the ending of the story. I'll agree. So let's think about how the story ended. Are you ready? Okay, so her friends voted for her to be Peter Pan. Now, remember, what did Raj and Natalie say to her at the end of the story? That's right, she did an amazing job. Conclusion. Now, we need to think about something we learned from this story. What did you learn from this story? Once again, I'll give you a moment to think. Okay, are you ready? Something I learned from this story. Grace was determined. Determined. Did Grace let anything stop her? I agree she didn't. Grace did not let anything that anyone said stand in the way of her dreams. And that's the same way with you guys. Don't let somebody say you can't do something. Just work harder and make it happen. So, I hope you really enjoyed today's story about Amazing Grace. The nice thing is if you like this book, you can pick it up at the Knox County Public Library. Okay? So, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed our story. And guess what? Tune in again. I'm going to be having more videos on each week, reading books and discussing them. So, you can watch this video again. Okay? That's the cool part. You can watch it again. And you can search the YouTube channel through the Knox County Public Library, the Tutor Team, and they're also going to provide a hyperlink for you. So, this is Mrs. Worland saying thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget, read a book. Bye.